My name's Luke. I'm 29, and I build custom motorcycles in Phoenix, Arizona. I don't come from money. I built everything I have with my own two hands, from the shop I own to the beat-up Snap-on tool set I bought when I was 20 and couldn't even afford to eat out twice a month. I've spent most of my life under a welding mask, hands blistered, spine burning from 12-hour days. My reward? A solid reputation in the Southwest bike scene and a Ducati Monster that sounds like a goddamn thunderstorm when I take it out past midnight. That and a dog named Max, German Shepherd, best co-pilot in the world. So, no, I'm not the guy you picture when you think sucker, but let me tell you, everyone's got a blind spot. Mine had blonde hair, perfect posture, and the kind of smile that could talk a bouncer into letting her cut a line wrapped around the block. Her name was Stacy. We met at a housewarming party, one of those sleek downtown lofts full of overpriced furniture and underfed influencers. I wasn't even supposed to be there. My buddy Tristan dragged me along, said I needed to get out more. Funny, the moment Stacy walked in, that's exactly what I lost my way out. She was magnetic, said she worked in PR, knew how to read a room, steer a conversation, charm the pants off anyone, and for some godforsaken reason, she took an interest in me, the guy with oil-stained hands and zero Instagram presence. First date wine bar, second date sushi, third date. She surprised me by showing up at the shop in heels and a pencil skirt, asking questions about carburetors like she gave a damn. I should have known then. Anyone who asks that many questions without getting dirt under their nails isn't really curious. They're casing the joint. But I didn't see it that way. I saw a future. A year in, she moved into my apartment. We started talking long-term. 6 months after that, I was down on one knee in the garage, oil on my shirt, ring in my hand. She said yes. My dumbass thought that meant something permanent. We started planning the wedding venue in Sedona. Florist deposit, DJ with a laser package she just had to have. We were 6 months out, and everything was paid for by me. Not that I minded. I was taught old school: you provide, you protect, you build a life worth sharing. And she smiled, tried on dresses, posted cryptic quotes on her Instagram like, "A woman becomes unstoppable after she realizes she deserves better." I thought that was meant for someone else. I worked hard. I was at the shop 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I'd come home sore, starving, and she'd be curled up on the couch, glass of wine in hand, telling me how exhausting her day full of Zoom meetings had been. Still, I cooked dinner, took Max on walks, massaged her shoulders while she scrolled TikTok. Love, I figured, was service. No one tells you what it feels like to realize you've been tipping the balance of a relationship for so long. You're basically the furniture. But let me be clear, this isn't a sob story. This is a warning, a slow burn before ignition. Because one Thursday evening, I was prepping dinner, chicken stir-fry, her favorite, and my phone buzzed. I wiped my hands, picked it up, a text from her. "Luke, things feel complicated. I'm stressing over the wedding and I really need some space to think and figure things out. Please don't contact me for a while. I'll reach out when I'm ready." No conversation, no eye contact, no warning, just a single text after 2 years of sharing a bed, a home, a life. It felt like being dropped in the middle of the desert with no compass, but I respected it. I texted back, "Okay, take the time you need." I wish I could tell you I suspected something then, that I sniffed out the lie like a good dog. I didn't. I shut up, waited, pretended this was just nerves, that her parents were pressuring her, that the guest list was stressing her out. That's how we lie to ourselves. We shrink the truth until it fits our fantasy. 3 days passed. I tried sanding a custom leather seat for a '72 Triumph, but I kept doing the same section over and over. Tristan stopped by, took one look at me and said, "Dude, that seat's been done. You're just going through the motions." He wasn't wrong. That night, he brought over pizza and brutal honesty. Nobody asks for space 6 months before their wedding unless they're doing something shady. I didn't want to believe it, but he'd been my friend since high school. The kind who helped me move shop locations twice without asking for gas money. When that kind of friend looks you in the eye and says, "You're smarter than this," you listen. The next day, Stacy's coworker Melissa, who I'd always liked, texted me. "Luke, I think you should see this. I feel awful sending it, but you deserve to know." Attached were screenshots from Stacy's close friend's Instagram story. Apparently, she forgot Melissa was on that list. In the photos, bright sun, white sand, cocktails with little umbrellas, Stacy, bikini-clad, arm in arm with her ex-boyfriend, Jordan. Caption, "Reunited in paradise. Sometimes you need to revisit the past to see the future clearly." My blood turned cold. Another photo, Jordan kissing her neck. Another, her laughing, holding his hand, the ring I bought still on her finger. Space, huh? So that's what figuring things out looked like. Not therapy, not solitude, but a tropical vacation with the guy she claimed to be just friends with. And me. I was paying for it all, literally. She used my Delta miles to fly there, slept in my bed before leaving, drove the car I bought her when hers broke down. She didn't want time to think. She wanted me out of the way while she test drove nostalgia. But I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't send angry texts. No. I went tactical. I started with the venue, then the caterer, the DJ, the florist. I didn't just cancel a wedding. I erased a life she built with my resources. And when she came back, expecting the same keys to work, she learned the hard way. I don't get even, I get ahead. The thing about betrayal, it doesn't hit you all at once. It comes in waves. The first wave numbs you, the second one burns. And by the third, you're either drowning or learning how to swim with fire in your lungs. After seeing those photos of Stacy with Jordan, I didn't yell, I didn't call, I didn't even move for a while. I just sat in my office chair, the one I patched together with duct tape and a prayer after it broke during a late-night build. Max lay at my feet, tail still, sensing something had shifted in the air. I stared at the photo, not at Stacy, not at Jordan at the ring. Still on her finger, my ring. 15 grand, 3 carats, flawless clarity. I spent weeks researching cuts and metal types, sold off a vintage carburetor collection to pay for it. I wanted her to feel proud wearing it. I wanted people to look at it and say, "Damn, that guy must really love her." What a joke. She kept the ring on, even while pressing her body into another man, like it was just accessory, something to complete the outfit, the kind of detail that looked good for Instagram. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run full speed into the nearest wall. Instead, I reached down, scratched behind Max's ears, and whispered, "Good boy, let's go for a ride." We drove, no destination, just the roar of the Ducati through the Arizona dusk, and the kind of silence you only get on desert roads at 90 miles an hour. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that picture, her smile, that smug, closed eyes happiness, like she finally found clarity while I was here in a pile of receipts and broken trust. I didn't touch my phone for 2 days, ignored calls, texts, even from Tristan. I wasn't ready to talk. But on the third day, something changed. I was digging through our shared filing cabinet, looking for the lease documents, trying to figure out what, exactly, she had her name on when I found something wedged between folders. A birthday card. From her to Luke, my builder, my dreamer, my forever. Inside, "Thank you for making me feel safe, seen, and loved. I can't wait to build our future together. Love always. Oh." It wasn't the words that got me. It was the fact that she'd written that 6 days before booking a vacation with her ex. I laughed so hard, it turned into a cough, then a grunt, then a low growl from deep in my chest that didn't sound human. That's when I decided, if she wanted space, I'd give her an entire galaxy. I started with logistics. First call, wedding venue, non-refundable deposit, 5 grand, gone. Second caterer, 2 grand, gone. Third DJ, photographer, florist. One by one, I dismantled the dream she curated for social media. There's something chilling about canceling your own wedding like you're closing a spreadsheet. Cold, methodical, efficient. Every call ended the same way. May I ask why you're canceling, sir? No longer needed. I didn't owe anyone an explanation, and I damn sure didn't owe her one. Then came the locks. I called my buddy Nate, local locksmith, who owed me a favor from when I helped him rebuild his dirt bike engine for free. He showed up that evening, changed both the deadbolt and knob lock in less than 30 minutes. "Break up?" he asked casually. I didn't answer, just handed him a six-pack and a $100 tip. The next day, I tackled the car situation. Stacy had been driving a Mazda I bought under my name 6 months ago after her Honda finally choked. I paid in full. Title still sat in my safe. She never offered to chip in. So I drove it to my shop, cleaned it out, found a tube of lip gloss, one high heel, and a Starbucks receipt from the week she left. Same day she told me she needed space. I listed the car online that night. It sold in 48 hours. When I pulled the license plate off, I felt something uncoil in my chest, like peeling off the last sticker of a brand you no longer represent. Then came the ring. I found it sitting on her nightstand when I came home from the shop one afternoon. No note, no box, just placed there like a pair of earrings. I stood there for 10 minutes, staring at it. 3 carats, still blinding in the sunlight. I didn't touch it. Not yet. Instead, I took a photo. Then I printed it, put it in my folder along with receipts, the appraisal certificate, and screenshots of the Instagram story Melissa had sent. Because in the state of Arizona, an engagement ring is considered a conditional gift. You don't fulfill the condition, aka the marriage, I can legally demand it back. I wasn't planning to sue her, but I was ready to protect what I'd earned. Somewhere in the middle of this cleanup, Tristan showed up again, knocked twice, then just walked in like always. He didn't say anything for a while, just watched me move around the apartment, boxing up her stuff. Finally, he asked, "You okay?" I nodded. "Not yet, but I'm getting there." He opened the fridge, grabbed a beer, and sat on the floor next to Max. "You're handling this better than most guys would." I gave a short laugh. "That's because I'm not most guys. I don't break. I rebuild." Tristan lifted his bottle in a quiet salute. To clean exits. I clinked mine against his. But there was one thing I hadn't dealt with yet. One last loose end. Soignas loose end. Stacy's bag. She left behind a designer tote, probably too expensive for what it held. I'd ignored it up until now, letting it sit in the closet like a ghost. When I finally opened it, I found her favorite perfume, the one I bought her last Valentine's. The scent used to turn me inside out. I held the bottle, stared at the label. Velour Noir, a luxury import, $180 an ounce, say. I twisted the cap open, took one last inhale, and then walked to the dumpster behind my building and dropped it in. Some things can't be recycled. 10 days after she left, Stacy came back. No warning, no text, just the sound of keys jingling outside the door. Except now, the locks didn't turn. I watched from the peephole as she fumbled, confused, then panicked. She knocked, then pounded, then yelled, "Luke, Luke, what the hell? Open the door." I didn't move, just watched. Let her knock. Let her sweat. Let her realize. She was locked out of my life. For good, she stood outside the door, fists pounding like thunder, yelling my name as if we hadn't just traded love for silence 10 days ago. "Luke, what the hell? Why isn't my key working?" I didn't answer. Max paced beside me, ears perked, unsure whether to bark or bolt. I knelt down, gave him a calming scratch behind the ear, and whispered, "It's all right, bud. The storm's outside, not in here." From behind the door, her voice cracked. "I'm serious. Luke, open this damn door." I stood up, watched her shadow through the peephole, purse swinging, phone in hand, hair windblown, not a trace of guilt on her face, just irritation, like she was inconvenienced, like I had messed up her plan. Eventually, she stopped banging. I saw her face twist in confusion, then frustration, then something else, panic. She dialed someone, walked a few feet from the door. I couldn't hear what she said, but I could guess. Can you believe this? He changed the locks, I just needed space. Yeah, space to test drive your ex in Puerto Rico while keeping a safety net back home. I turned away from the door and walked into the kitchen. The place was spotless. Her stuff, all packed in labeled boxes by room closet, bathroom, miss, vanity. I'd even included bubble wrap. Call me cold, but I wasn't cruel. She left after 20 minutes, slamming footsteps down the stairs, tires screeching in the parking lot. I stood in that quiet apartment, the hum of the fridge loud in the silence, and exhaled like I hadn't in weeks. She knew now that I knew. Game on. Over the next few days, I expected texts, calls, maybe even an apology. Instead, I got what she does best: performance. A mutual friend sent me screenshots of her latest post, a black and white selfie, teary-eyed, captioned, "Sometimes the person you love most turns out to be the one who never really saw you at all." 243 likes, 192 comments, most of them girl. You deserve better. His loss. Drop the zero. Find your hero. And right there in the comments, Jordan, heart emoji. It was almost funny. She broke the relationship and still tried to play victim, like emotional credit fraud, maxed out the account, then blamed the bank. But this wasn't about clapping back online. I wasn't going to write a thread or post my side. I was going to make moves, quiet, permanent, strategic. That night, I opened the safe. Inside were the usual things: passport, cash, title to the Mazda already sold, and the engagement ring. Staring at it under the flickering ceiling light, I felt something strange, not anger, not grief. Relief. Like it had never belonged on her finger in the first place. I slipped it into its original box, sealed it in an envelope, and wrote on the front, "Property of Luke R. Not for return." It went back into the safe, where it would stay until I figured out what to do with it. Pawn it. Maybe melt it down into something new that was tempting. But for now, it was a reminder, not of love lost, but clarity gained. The next day, she texted me, "I think we should talk. In person, please." I stared at the screen. 3 dots popped up, then disappeared. 20 minutes passed. Another text. "I know you're angry. I get it. But we shared something real. You don't have to ghost me." The irony made me laugh out loud. I didn't ghost her. She just ran ahead assuming I'd follow. I didn't reply. That night, Tristan came by again. He saw the packed boxes, the sealed safe, and just nodded. "You sure you don't want to at least hear her out?" I shook my head. She made her speech, on a beach, with someone else. He shrugged. "Fair." We cracked open beers and sat on the patio. "She told people you flipped out," he said, "that you locked her out for no reason." Of course she did. She also said you're keeping stuff that's hers. Everything in this place was paid for by me. She brought half a closet of clothes, a tote bag, and a coffee grinder. She wants the grinder back. Too bad. I donated it yesterday. We both laughed. It felt good to laugh. But beneath the surface, I was thinking bigger. She wanted to control the narrative. I wanted to end the damn story. A few nights later, Melissa texted again. "Hey, you didn't hear this from me, but Jordan's bragging to people about the trip, saying Stacy never stopped texting him even during the engagement." I stared at the screen, fingers tight around the phone. He showed someone messages going back months. She told him she was only with Luke because he was stable. That one hurt. Because stable is a compliment when it comes from someone who respects you, but from someone like Stacy, it meant boring, predictable, useful. I put the phone down, stared at the ceiling, thought about all the dinners I cooked, all the late-night drives to get her favorite wine, all the times I paid her student loans when she was between jobs. Not out of obligation. Out of love. Out of belief. And she turned that belief into a backup plan. But here's the twist she didn't see coming. I was done being the backup. I wasn't going to argue, or scream, or try to prove I was the better man. I was going to flip the entire board. And I already had the first move lined up. She'd never changed her mailing address. Still had packages coming here, a couple of Sephora boxes, some random PR samples from her side hustle. So I started collecting them, not to withhold, to document. I took photos, tracked delivery dates, kept receipts. Because if she tried to say I was keeping her things, I had timestamps, proof, a digital footprint that said, she walked away, I just swept the floor. Then came the final puzzle piece. The wedding fund. Back when we started planning, I opened a joint savings account. Dumb, I know, but I thought we were building something together. The agreement was simple. I'd fund it. She'd manage bookings and design. I put in $12,000. She put in $500. Guess who never took her name off? I checked the balance. $1, $400. She'd drained it. Florist paid. DJ paid. Spa day for her and her maid of honor, $600. I printed every transaction, filed it, and smiled. Because in Arizona, a joint account with uneven contribution, where one party uses it for personal expenses, that's contestable. She thought she was smart, but she forgot who built systems for a living. The next morning, I booked a meeting with a lawyer. Not for revenge, for restoration. Because this wasn't just about a wedding anymore. This was about a man who refused to be someone's plan B. And I was about to make sure the fallout wasn't quiet. It was permanent. Walking into the lawyer's office, I felt something I hadn't in weeks control. It wasn't vengeance. It wasn't bitterness. It was the steady weight of knowing I was no longer the one being lied to, no longer the one playing catch-up. I was taking the wheel. Finally. The firm was clean, clinical gray carpet, glass walls, and a receptionist who greeted me like I mattered. I sat in a plush leather chair across from a woman named Vanessa Kim, sharp as a blade and twice as quick. Family law, asset disputes, exactly what I needed. She flipped through my folder while I talked screenshots, bank statements, itemized receipts. I'd laid it all out like a case file. Every dollar, every gift, every decision. When I finished, she looked up and said, "You're remarkably organized for someone who just got betrayed." I gave a tight smile. I'm a mechanic. You lose a bolt in the wrong place. Someone dies. Organization is survival. Vanessa nodded slowly, tapped a finger on the photo of Stacy and Jordan on the beach. So, what do you want? I thought about that. Not revenge. Not public humiliation. Just justice. I want the engagement officially nullified, the ring kept, and all financial contributions documented in case she tries to claim shared property. I also want to close the joint account and file a formal request to retrieve any items she might claim as hers, with proof of value. Vanessa arched a brow. You're not playing around. No, I said, not anymore. Oi? She nodded, then added, you know she's going to be angry, might even come after you online. I'm counting on it. Because here's the thing. Stacy was all about optics. She didn't need the truth. She needed to look right. And once people like that start losing control of the story, they flail. And when they flail, they make mistakes. That night, I posted a photo of Max and me in the garage. Caption, when you clear the wreckage, you make room to rebuild. It was vague, subtle, but loud enough to get people asking. Within hours, I got DMs from mutuals, from people I hadn't talked to since college. Zeiss. One said, "Hey, are you okay? Just saw Stacy's story. She's making it sound like you lost your mind." Another, "If you ever want to talk, I've been where you are. Engagement ended. Blamed for everything." And then one I didn't expect. From Stacy's old college roommate, Erica. "You probably don't remember me, but I knew Stacy before the filters. If you ever need someone to talk to who knows how she operates, I'm here." I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. I replied, "I'd appreciate the insight. You free to talk." We jumped on a call that night, and what Erica told me, it changed everything. Apparently, Jordan wasn't the first ex Stacy had accidentally reconnected with during a serious relationship. This was a pattern. One Erica had witnessed up close, Stacy using space as a smokescreen while she circled back to old flames. Worse, Erica said, she told me once that she never planned to actually marry anyone until she was sure they could fully fund her reset. Her words, not mine. Reset. Like love was a subscription plan. She always needed a fallback. Erica said, she doesn't do alone. She does. Strategic exits. I sat there, stomach turning, remembering all the times Stacy said things like, "You stabilize me," or "I need your grounding energy." I thought she meant it as love. But it was business. And I'd been an investment. The next day, Stacy emailed me. Subject line, "We need to talk like adults." Body. "Luke, I think you've made your point. I'm sorry for how things happened, but this back and forth is exhausting. I'd like to retrieve my belongings and move forward peacefully. Please, let me know when I can come by." Peacefully. After a betrayal this deep, she wanted politeness. I didn't reply. Instead, I had Vanessa send a formal response. "Ms. Chambers may retrieve her labeled items from the lobby of Luke's residence between the hours of 9 a.m. 12 p.m. this Saturday. The premises will be monitored. Entry to the apartment is not permitted. Any personal property not collected within 7 days will be considered abandoned." It was sterile, precise. But it came with legal teeth. And that Saturday, she showed up. Hair done, sunglasses on, acting like this was a minor inconvenience. She didn't see me. I watched from the window above as she stood in the building lobby, looking at the boxes like they were beneath her. She picked up one, then stopped, unzipped it, took out the leather jacket I'd gifted her last Christmas. Paused. Then stuffed it back in like it meant nothing. That was the last time I saw her in person. No tears. No screaming match. No final scene. Just a woman realizing she'd lost access, not just to the apartment, not just to the money, but to me. Meg. And still, the fallout kept coming. One of my regular customers told me she'd DM'd him to warn him about how unstable I was, that I locked her out in the middle of the night with no explanation. He blocked her immediately. Said, "You fix my bike. You've never lied to me. That's more than I can say for half the people I know." I didn't ask for loyalty, but it found me anyway. And with each lie she told, another bridge burned, but not mine, hers. The last loose end, the engagement ring. I didn't want to pawn it. Didn't want to destroy it. So I did something else. I took it back to the custom jeweler who made it. Asked if they could melt it down. Not to sell. To remake. Into a dog tag for Max. Solid gold. Etched with loyalty. Love. I picked it up 2 weeks later. Max wagged his tail like he knew. He wore it with pride. And I looked at him, this creature who never left my side, and said, "That's more than she ever gave me." But just when I thought it was over, when the dust had finally settled, I got a call from Vanessa. And her voice was tight, controlled, but serious. "Luke, you're not going to like this. She's trying to file a claim. Says you owe her money for emotional distress." I blinked, laughed. But Vanessa didn't. She's retained counsel. I leaned back in my chair. Because apparently, some people don't quit, even after they've already lost. I wasn't surprised Stacy had the nerve to file a claim. But I was stunned by the audacity of it. Emotional distress, Vanessa said again over the phone, her tone crisp. She's claiming your sudden withdrawal, hostile behavior, and social humiliation caused her mental anguish and reputational damage. I nearly dropped my wrench. I was in the middle of adjusting the clutch on a vintage Harley when the news came in. Reputational damage. From the woman who posted a bikini shot with her ex 2 weeks after breaking off our engagement without a single conversation. I didn't even go public. I told Vanessa. I didn't say a damn word about her. You didn't have to, she replied. She's banking on the optics, framing herself as the one discarded. If this makes it to court, she'll play the sympathy card hard. I set the wrench down, palms slick with sweat. Can she win? Vanessa paused. Unlikely, but not impossible. Emotional distress cases are notoriously murky. It depends on how much evidence she thinks she can conjure and how much patience you have. I leaned back, exhaled slowly. The garage smelled like oil, steel, and sawdust, familiar comforts. How do we fight it? Easy, she said. We don't fight. We flip. We file a counterclaim based on misuse of funds from the wedding account, fraudulent use of your credit, and unauthorized charges, and we subpoena her Instagram activity and travel records. She didn't even have to finish the sentence before I said, do it. It was never about money. It was about truth, about drawing a line in the dirt so deep she couldn't pretend it wasn't there. That night, I went through the screenshots again. The vacation photos, the captions, the heart emojis from Jordan. One in particular caught my eye, posted while she was still in Puerto Rico. Sometimes you have to let go of the hand holding you back to reach for what sets you free. The date stamp. 3 days before she texted me about needing space. She'd already moved on. The text wasn't a break. It was a formality. I sent the timestamp to Vanessa. She added it to the file. Game on. Then came the subpoenas. Vanessa filed swiftly and strategically, credit card companies, airlines, Instagram, even the florist Stacy hired on my dime. And just like that, the story she'd curated started to crack. The joint account showed clear purchases for personal gain, spa treatments, designer clothes, charges from Jordan's hometown on my card. She wasn't just heartless, she was sloppy. But the real twist, Vanessa uncovered something I hadn't known. While digging through digital records, she found a second trip. A weekend in San Diego booked 2 months before our wedding was even canceled. Hotel for 2. Dinner reservation at a rooftop restaurant. And a charge at a high-end lingerie boutique. It wasn't just cheating. It was premeditated escape. She had an exit strategy ready while I was still tightening bolts on our future. I wish I could say I felt angry. But I didn't. I felt free. Like someone had opened the windows in a smoke-filled room. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. It was about closure. And, as Vanessa assembled the counterclaim with laser precision, I handled things my way with steel and leather. I got back to work. Rebuilt an entire cafe racer for a client in 3 days. Slept better than I had in months. Stopped looking at the door, expecting her to walk through. She was out of my home. Out of my accounts. And finally, out of my head. But, of course, Stacy couldn't stay quiet for long. She posted a healing journey video. Full-blown performance soft music, tears welling up, captions about surviving narcissistic abuse. A quote in the video. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I didn't respond, didn't even watch it all the way through. But the comments, they were split. Some still cheered her on, but others finally started asking questions. Wait, Didn't she post vacation pics with another guy before the breakup? Isn't that her ex in those photos? Pretty sure she was still engaged when she went on that trip. The tide was turning. People were connecting the dots. Her control of the narrative was slipping fast. 2 weeks later, we had mediation. I didn't see her at first. Vanessa handled most of it. But at one point, I had to step into the room. There she was. Polished, cold, dressed like she was attending a job interview at Vogue. Her eyes locked on mine, and for the first time since this whole thing started, she didn't look smug. She looked cornered, like a magician caught mid-trick. She tried to speak, but her attorney placed a hand on her arm. I sat down, calm. Vanessa slid a folder across the table. Inside, printouts of every shady charge. Screenshots. Timeline overlaps. A statement from Erica. And at the very top, a photo of the engagement ring, now melted down and hanging from Max's neck. It wasn't petty. It was poetry. After a long silence, Stacy finally muttered, "You really want to drag this out, Luke." I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, I want to end it. Officially. Permanently. With the truth." Her lawyer advised her to settle. She agreed. The claim was dropped. The counterclaim stood. She'd pay restitution for misuse of funds. No social media retaliation. No contact clause. And just like that click, the last shackle snapped. But just when I thought it was all finally behind me, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside, a single photo. Stacy and Jordan, holding hands, smiling. And on the back, in familiar handwriting, "Hope you're happy now. We are." And under that, "P.S. You missed something." I flipped the envelope inside out, nothing else. But it was the phrase that chilled me. You missed something. Something was still out there. And it wasn't over yet. The photo wasn't what got to me. It was the line scrawled on the back. You missed something. It sat with me for days, a quiet itch beneath the skin. I turned that envelope over again and again, even ran it under a light to see if there was some hidden message. Nothing. But it gnawed at me. Stacy had always been manipulative, sure, but she was never vague. If she sent that message, she wanted something, needed something. And if there's one thing about people like her, it's that they can't resist one last move. She wanted me to react, or panic. I didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I focused on what mattered, rebuilding my shop, rebuilding my life, and not letting a woman who ghosted me with her ex have rent-free space in my mind. But something kept tugging, that phrase again. You missed something. A week later, it was Max who found it. We were in the garage. As usual, he sniffed around the back corner of the shop, near the pile of moving boxes I'd never fully unpacked after the breakup. There was a small cardboard one marked, "Old receipts I hadn't touched in months." He pawed at it. When I opened it, I froze. Right on top was a manila folder I didn't recognize. It was unmarked, dusty. Inside, a thick stack of printouts. Screenshots. Chats. Photos. Bank statements. But not mine. They were Stacy's. And not just Stacy's, Jordan's, too. At first I thought it was another of Vanessa's files, something she left by accident. But when I flipped to the last page, I saw a note, handwritten on a sticky tab. "You didn't think I'd keep this to myself, did you, E? Erica." She'd slipped me a weapon, and I hadn't even known. The folder was damning. Stacy had more than just a pattern, she had a playbook. There were emails from 3 exes, all eerily similar. "I just need a break. You're everything I should want. I feel trapped in this perfect thing." Each breakup happened within 60 days of a vacation. With someone else. She'd use the same phrases, the same script, sometimes the same gifs. And she always walked away with something: a car title, a piece of jewelry, money. Even worse. A Venmo history showed she sent Jordan $700 the day before filing her emotional distress claim against me. Label: "Thanks for doing this." It was enough. More than enough. I forwarded it all to Vanessa. And then I sat down with Max, rubbed the golden dog tag on his neck, and whispered. She handed me the match. "Let's light the whole thing." Vanessa was ruthless. She amended our filing with the new evidence, not just to defend, but to pursue damages, for fraud, for defamation, for misuse of joint assets in a calculated pattern. Stacy's lawyers went silent. No counters, no reply. Then came the email. "We'd like to discuss settlement." Of course they did. But I didn't care about the money anymore. I wanted the story told clean. Not on Instagram, not in whispers. I wanted closure, documented. So we pushed for arbitration. I showed up calm, in my grease-stained work boots and flannel. No suit, no flash. Stacy arrived late, wearing white. Symbolic? Maybe. But when she sat down and saw that folder, her whole face dropped. No tears, no yelling, just silence. It was like she realized the script didn't work anymore. Yeah? I wasn't the fallback. I was the finale. Arbitration went fast. She agreed to pay restitution. She signed a statement retracting her emotional distress claim. And she agreed, in writing, to never contact me again in any form. The silence that followed. It was the kind of silence that doesn't ache. It heals. Weeks passed. The shop got busy again. Max got spoiled. And me. I got my piece. I turned the old wedding account into a motorcycle scholarship fund, 1 grant a year, for someone rebuilding their life after a major betrayal or loss. The first recipient, a single dad from Tucson who'd just gotten out of a nasty divorce. He cried when I handed him the keys to the bike we built together. I didn't need thanks. Just purpose. But then, the twist. I was closing up the shop one evening when a car pulled up I didn't recognize. Out stepped Jordan. I didn't move, just waited. He approached, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes avoiding mine. "I'm not here to fight," he said. I crossed my arms. "Then why are you here?" He hesitated, then pulled something from his pocket. A flash drive. "She lied to me too," he said, "about a lot of things. I think you should see this." I took it, said nothing. He turned to leave, but paused. "She said you'd never forgive her," he muttered. I shrugged. She was right. He nodded once, then walked away. I stared at that flash drive for hours. Did I want to know more? Or had I finally dug deep enough? Part of me wanted to toss it in the trash, but another part whispered, "There's always one more page." And I wasn't sure if I was ready to read it or burn it. The flash drive sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days. I'd walk by it on the way to the fridge, catch it in the corner of my eye, and feel that tiny flicker of dread spark in my gut. Was it closure, or was it a trap? Max would stare at me like he was waiting for me to make a move, like even he could sense that this story wasn't quite done. Sometimes a man doesn't need enemies, just unfinished answers. On the 4th night, I poured myself a glass of whiskey. No ice, just fire. I plugged the drive in. A folder popped up labeled, "Just So You Know." Inside, 4 videos. The first was a screen recording Stacy messaging a new guy. I recognized the pattern instantly. Flirty, soft manipulation. The "I'm still healing" line. Then the pivot: "I just wish people would stop punishing me for needing to protect my peace." The second was a voicemail dated 2 weeks after our engagement ended. She was talking to someone named Kara, complaining about how Luke weaponized silence and acted like I was property. She laughed. "I mean, it's not like I cheated. I just pivoted early. Pivoted early." That phrase hit me like a brick. She didn't see people. She saw opportunities, exit ramps, timing. The third video. That one knocked the wind out of me. She was in a bathroom filming herself, holding up my dog tag, Max's. She must have swiped it before she left. She turned it to the camera. "Loyalty over love," she said, smirking. "That's why you'll die alone, Luke." Then she dropped it in the toilet. Flushed. The screen went black. My jaw clenched so tight, I thought a molar might crack. But the last video was different. Jordan. Face in shadow, voice calm. "If you're watching this, I'm gone. Not like dead, just done with her. She did the same thing to me that she did to you. Worse, used my credit card to buy a ring for herself. I found the receipts. I guess I just didn't want you to think you were the only one." He paused, then added, "Also, I took that dog tag out of the toilet, cleaned it, mailed it back. Hope you didn't throw it away." I hadn't. I rushed to the junk drawer, rummaged through the chaos tape, nails, old receipts. And there it was, wrapped in tissue, water-stained but intact. That little golden tag, loyalty, love, still shining under the grime. I stood there, staring at it, the knot in my chest finally loosening. Not because I won, not because she lost, but because I was still me. Still the guy who gave his heart without a contract. Still the guy who loved with both feet planted, not 1 foot out the door. And yeah, still the guy who believed loyalty mattered, even if no one else did. I had it polished. Didn't wear it. Didn't even give it back to Max. I mounted it on the wall of the shop, right above the door. Customers ask about it sometimes. I just smile and say, "Reminder." Life moved forward. Erica and I kept in touch. She became something of a friend. Weirdly, we swapped stories about manipulative relationships, trauma bonding, and therapy wins. She told me, Stacy was never dangerous because she was wild. She was dangerous because she made crazy look reasonable. Truth. The shop grew. I hired my first apprentice, a kid named Diego. Quiet, obsessed with rebuilding vintage Yamahas, the kind of kid I might have been if someone gave me a shot sooner. And Max. Still rides shotgun every morning, still wears a newer tag now, etched with earned, not given. So what's the lesson here? Honestly, it's not don't fall in love. It's not trust no one. It's not even watch your bank account. It's this. Some people love the feeling of being adored, not the work of earning it. Some people treat commitment like a lease with a buyout option they never plan to use. But when you find out someone's playing games with your soul, don't fight to stay in the game. Walk off the field. Burn the playbook. And start your own damn league. I get messages sometimes from guys and girls after I told pieces of this story on Instagram. "Man, how'd you know it was time to stop forgiving?" Or, "She sounds exactly like my ex. I stayed way too long." I don't have magic answers, but I do have this. When your love starts feeling like a contract you never signed. When you look in the mirror and realize you're negotiating your own worth, it's time. Not to explode. Not to lash out. Just to end it. Clean, cold, clear. That's not revenge. That's liberation. I took that flash drive, deleted every file. I didn't save them, didn't back them up. Because sometimes healing means not archiving pain. And as I sat there, watching Max snore by the workbench, I realized something. Stacy didn't break me. She refined me. And I'd rather be alone in truth than held in fiction. Thanks for listening. And hey, if someone's ever tried to sell you a fairy tale on a broken spine, comment "not today." Like if you've ever chosen peace over chaos, subscribe if you're building back better. Because trust me, your silence is never weakness. It's a warning. One they'll only hear once it's too late. Story 2. The rain hit the windows hard, drumming a rhythm that only added to the chaos in my mind. I'm sitting here, in the place I was supposed to build my future. My name is Kai, 35 years old, and if you're watching this, it's because you want to know why I'm sitting in a half-finished house alone while my world, and the people I loved most, crumble to pieces. You might think this is just another story about a cheating fiancé, but trust me, it's not. This is about the guy I called my brother, Danny. He slept with Lisa, the woman I was supposed to marry in just 3 weeks, and when I walked in on them, it wasn't just a betrayal, it was the last straw in a lifetime of manipulation, selfishness, and lies. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. Hell, I don't need that. I'm telling you because this is the kind of thing that changes a person. And what happened after that day? That's when things really got interesting. You'll want to stick around for what happens next. Trust me. Like, comment, and subscribe because this isn't a story about heartbreak. It's a story about how I took back control and how my brother's life became the greatest lesson in payback. The house was supposed to be a dream. I spent years working my ass off in a tech startup, putting in hours, making sacrifices hell. I didn't even know what free time was anymore. And finally, I was going to have something I could call my own, a place where Lisa and I would make memories, where we'd laugh about the crazy stuff we'd done, build a life together. She was my world, my future. And then there was Danny, always the screw-up, always the one who was working through his issues, the one who needed help, who couldn't get his act together, despite all the chances my parents gave him. Danny, at 30 years old, still living in their basement, couldn't hold down a job, couldn't move out of the house, couldn't even manage to grow up. He had this tragic love story about a girl named Scarlett who supposedly broke his heart years ago, 10 years ago, to be exact, and he used it like a get-out-of-jail-free card for everything. Poor Danny, my parents would always say, he's still processing his trauma, and I was the one who got to deal with it. I've spent my whole life trying to be the good son, the responsible one, the one who could fix everything. But Danny, he didn't need fixing. He needed a wake-up call. But I was too focused on my own life to see that he was still playing his games. And when I did see it, I ignored the signs. Lisa thought it was sweet when Danny started coming around more. She said he was opening up to her. She told me how he had such a deep soul. Bullshit. All he had was a deep ability to manipulate people, especially me, and I let it happen. I guess I was too blinded by the future I was building to realize that what I had wasn't as solid as I thought. Lisa and I were planning the wedding, looking at venue options, even talking about kids. Everything was moving forward like it was supposed to, and that's when it happened. Danny started showing up more, I's sake. Every single day. I'll admit it, I didn't do anything at first. Maybe I thought it was innocent, that he was just trying to connect. But then something shifted. Lisa started defending him. She'd say things like, Kai, maybe if you just gave him a chance, or he's been through a lot. You don't understand. And I did understand. I understood that Danny was manipulating her too, but it wasn't until the engagement party that it all came crashing down. The backyard was perfect that night, rented tables, string lights that flickered like something out of a Pinterest board. Everyone was having a good time, the kind of party where everyone talks about how perfect the couple is. And then there was Danny, standing up to give a toast. He raised his glass, and I knew exactly what was coming. To my little brother Kai, he said, the responsible one, the one who built a perfect life. Some people just get lucky. I should have known. It was always like this with him, always passive-aggressive, always pretending to praise me, but really throwing shade, and that's when he did it. He compared me to Scarlett. Lisa had no idea what just happened. To her, it was just another bro moment, but to me, that was the moment everything changed. That was when I realized how much damage Danny had done, and how deep it ran. Later that night, he cornered me by the cooler, clapped me on the back like we were friends, and said, "She reminds me of Scarlett. You know, that same fire." It wasn't just about Lisa. It was about him. It always had been. The thing is, I laughed it off. I played it cool. That's what I'd always done. But later that night, my friend Martin called me. "Dude, that wasn't a toast," he said. "That was a warning shot. Don't let that guy anywhere near your happiness." I laughed, but deep down, I knew Martin was right. I should have seen it. I should have known. But it wasn't until later that week, when Danny showed up again, that I finally started to wake up. He came to borrow something again. The guy was always in the neighborhood, always looking for an excuse to drop by. Lisa thought it was sweet that he was trying to bond, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I had been the responsible one for so long, but I was tired. I was tired of carrying this weight, and I knew I couldn't keep ignoring the signs. And then I saw him, standing in my living room, like he belonged there. That was it. That was the moment when I finally snapped. But I didn't act on it yet. I wasn't ready. I needed a plan. I should have known. But now I'm going to make sure Danny never gets to ruin anything in my life again. It's time to take back control. Stay tuned, because next time, I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do it. The first time I held the ring in my hand, I felt its weight, not just against my palm, but in my chest, like the world was pressing down on me. It was late afternoon in Austin, Texas, and the sunlight slanted through half-installed blinds, casting long shadows across the living room floor. My name is Kai, 35, product manager at a tech startup, and this house fresh paint on the walls, half-finished shelves, brand new kitchen appliances was supposed to be my American dream come true. I'd worked long nights, caffeine my constant companion, chasing that dream stability, independence, success. I could taste it whenever I walked through the front door and saw that hardwood floor, each plank laid by my own hands. The house key jingled like a promise, but promises can break, and dreams can turn into nightmares. A few months ago, my fiancée Lisa and I had walked these empty rooms together. She laughed as we debated paint swatches. "Trust me, gray makes everything look chic." I slipped the ring, small, elegant, flawless, into her palm. Her eyes sparkled brighter than any reflection off its diamond. "Yes," she whispered. That word echoed in my heart for weeks. But dreams have a way of unraveling faster than you can imagine. My brother Danny, 2 years younger, always lived in our parents' basement just down the road. He was the sort of guy who'd wear his high school Letterman jacket to a karaoke bar like it was a superhero cape. His tragic story about Scarlett, an architecture student he claimed shattered his heart a decade ago, was his excuse for every failure. Can't hold a job, can't pay rent, can't grow up. Mom and Dad devoured that story with hungry sympathy, while I quietly picked up the tab for his life. I don't begrudge family loyalty, but I did resent that I worked my ass off so Danny could stay stuck. I resented that my parents' warnings about helping him heal always felt aimed at me. Be patient, Kai. He's your brother. Meanwhile, I poured my soul into this house, this job, this life Lisa and I would build. In the mornings I woke before dawn, the city still dark, and brewed coffee strong enough to keep me buzzing through back-to-back meetings. On sleepless nights, I'd scroll through budget spreadsheets, calculating how many months it would take to clear the mortgage. The ring sat in a velvet box on my dresser, silent, gleaming, a heartbeat away from becoming her promise, until everything cracked. That first sign of danger came on a Friday evening. I drove home from the office, exhilarated by closing a big deal. The sky burned orange, and I imagined celebrating with Lisa over dinner on the back patio we'd set up. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The house was empty, silent, too quiet. I dropped my briefcase with a thud. The ring I'd worn in my pocket nudged my thigh. The air smelled faintly of Lisa's lavender lotion. I called her name. No answer. A creak upstairs, light but distinct, sent my pulse spiking. My chest tightened. "Lisa," I called, as if I expected an answer. The only reply was my own breath, coming too fast. Then I saw the bedroom door ajar. The soft glow of a lamp spilled into the hallway. I padded up the stairs, heart hammering, my hand wrapped around the banister, my grip hard enough to make my fingers go numb. I pushed the door. There on our unmade bed was my ring box, open, the velvet lining torn. My ring was gone. My breath stopped. A door slammed downstairs. Footsteps, a soft rustle of fabric. I lunged for the hallway. At the top of the stairs, I froze. There, half lit by the hall light, Danny stood with a cigarette dangling from his lips. His eyes widened like he'd swallowed something nasty. Then he shrugged, flicked ash onto the carpet, and that smug half-smile crawled across his face. "Hey, bro," he said, voice lazy. "You left this in my pocket." He held up the ring. My vision blurred his casual arrogance like a punch to the gut. I should have ripped it from his hand. I should have demanded answers. But all I could do was stare as he dropped the cigarette, shoved the ring into his jeans pocket, and sauntered past me down the stairs. I stood there, chest heaving, clutching the banister like it was my lifeline. The ring, my symbol of hope, was in his pocket. I could hear the front door click shut, then a car door, then the engine's roar fading into the night. I sank to the floor, the ring's weight suddenly so heavy in my bones. That was my first real sign that something was deeply, painfully wrong. That weekend, I confronted my parents. Their faces paled, but their words stung more than the truth. "They're just playing," Mom said softly. "You know how Danny gets when he's overwhelmed." "It's just a prank," Dad chimed in. "He didn't mean anything by it." A prank? A joke. That's what they called it. But I felt gutted, betrayed. And I realized I'd spent years trying to protect Danny, only to discover he was slowly tearing down everything I built from my confidence to my sanity. I used to believe in the American dream: work hard, play by the rules, build a home, raise a family. But here I was, paying every bill, carrying every burden, and getting nothing but excuses in return. The injustice burned like acid in my gut. I texted Lisa that night. "We need to talk." Her reply came quickly. "What happened, babe?" I stared at the screen, the ring's absence on my finger, a constant, thudding reminder. I typed Danny, took my ring. "I can't believe this is happening." Her response, "He's just stressed. I think he'll give it back. Don't worry." Her words cut deeper than Danny's betrayal. She believed him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the darkness, imagining every possible scenario. Where was the ring? What had it cost me? And why was everyone, including my own fiancé, so quick to excuse the man who stole my future from under my nose? In the stillness, I made a decision: I would not let another person, least of all my brother, steal my life. I would get that ring back, and I would show Danny, and everyone who enabled him, that you don't mess with my life and walk away unscathed. The next morning, as sunlight crept through the blinds, I saw a notification on my phone, a friend request from Scarlett Dubois, with a message that read, "He's a liar. Let's make him regret it." My heart skipped. The twisted game was about to begin. I, the unwanted intruder. The Monday after I found the ring gone, I walked into my office, feeling the familiar buzz of fluorescent lights and early morning caffeine. My product roadmap lay open on the desk, 6 months of work, writing on a big client presentation that afternoon. I was ready. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Danny stopped by. He's upset. I think he lost something important." My chest tightened. He'd lost my ring. Again, I should have known better than to trust him, but I still felt the need to protect him, to play the big brother. I shoved the text away and forced a stiff smile as I greeted my team. By 11 a.m., I was in front of the conference room, slides queued up, heart pounding not from nerves, but from dread. When I opened the door, the clients' faces were polite, but their eyes darted to the empty chair at the head of the table. "Is everything all right?" I began. "Actually," the client's lead leaned forward. "Your brother called asking about the prototype. He said he was testing it for you. Sasad." My stomach dropped. I excused myself, heart hammering so loud, I thought they'd hear it through the walls. I sprinted back to my desk and opened the shared drive. Files were missing. Downloads corrupted. Danny had literally downloaded critical assets and deleted them, sending me into a scramble to retrieve backups. That afternoon's presentation fell apart. The clients exchanged glances, brows furrowed. I apologized, but I knew trust had evaporated. By day's end, my boss called me into her office. "I know you're grieving something personal," she said gently, "but this can't happen again. If your home life is affecting your work, maybe you should take some time off." Time off. The words felt like a punch. In America, we worship the hustle, the grind that built skyscrapers of success. But if you stumble just once, the dream can crumble. And for me, it was crumbling fast, all because of Danny. 2. Family defends the guilty. That evening, I drove to my parents' house, the one Danny never left. I arrived to find Mom and Dad in the kitchen, talking in hushed tones. "He's just having a hard time," Mom said, rinsing dishes. "He meant no harm. You know how scatterbrained he can be." Dad nodded. "He's your brother, Kai. Give him a chance to fix it." I closed my eyes, inhaled the scent of lemon soap and cinnamon rolls, our family Sunday tradition. But the warmth was gone. I realized this wasn't about forgetfulness or a prank. It was a power play, Danny reminding everyone he could invade my life at will, and they'd always side with him. I opened my mouth to argue, but the words stuck. Instead, I turned and walked out, leaving them in their bubble of denial. 3. Lisa's blind loyalty. Back home, my phone buzzed again, this time from Lisa. "Babe, I talked to your parents. They say Danny's under a lot of stress. He's sorry. Trust me." Her message felt like salt in a wound. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I knew how much she loved keeping the peace. In her mind, family was a safe harbor. In mine, family had become a storm. I typed back, "I wish I could ignore this," but I didn't send it. Instead, I slipped on my jacket and headed to the grocery store, hoping fresh air might clear my head. Outside, the dusk settled over the neighborhood kids tricycling home, neighbors chatting over fences. It was the calm facade of the American dream: neat lawns, white picket fences, Sunday barbecues. But under that calm, resentments festered. Ivy, the guest who never leaves. Over the next week, Danny's visits became relentless. He'd show up with odd excuses. "Mom asked me to borrow your lawnmower," or "I need help with my resume again." Even, "Hey, can I crash on your couch? My sink's backed up." Each time, Lisa welcomed him like a lost puppy she couldn't abandon. One afternoon, I found him sitting in my home office, rummaging through my desk drawers. My blood froze. "What are you doing?" I demanded. He glanced up, eyes wide like he'd been caught in the middle of an important mystery. "Just looking for my jacket. I think I left it here." He held up a small zip-up hoodie, my favorite one, the one I wore almost every day. "Where'd you get that?" I said, voice low. He shrugged. "I borrowed it last week. Thought you didn't mind." I ripped it from his hands. The fabric felt heavy, soaked in betrayal. "Don't touch my things! Ever!" He smiled, as if I'd made a joke. All right. No need to get all high and mighty." That smug tone, like he'd already won. V, symbol of betrayal. Later that night, I sat by the kitchen counter, staring at the ring box, now empty again. The velvet felt threadbare under my fingers. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was the symbol I had chosen for my entire future, and Danny had ripped it from me twice over. I knew in my gut something had to change. I couldn't keep spinning in this cycle work. Family, betrayal, excuses, rinse, repeat. Sick, high-risk action. The next day, I decided to make a stand. Danny texted, "Hey bro, can I come by tonight? I need to talk." Instead of replying, I blocked his number. My finger hovered over the block button. My heart pounded. Was this too extreme? Could I really cut him off? Then I pictured myself at the tech firm, Those disappointed faces, that lost contract. I pictured Lisa's blind faith in him. I pictured my parents excusing his every misstep. And I knew this wasn't just about a stolen ring. It was about standing up for myself, even if it felt like tearing down a part of my own history. I tapped block. I exhaled, a mix of relief and fear flooding me. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. 7. The third player enters that night. I got a DM on Instagram. The profile picture, a sharp-eyed woman in a sleek black blazer. The name Scarlett Dubois. Message. Kai, I know about Danny. He told me about your perfect life. I'm not here to replay his lies. If you want the real truth, meet me at the coffee shop on Congress at 7 p.m. Bring your ring, bring your questions, and let's make him regret underestimating you. My breath caught. Scarlett Danny's long-lost love. The reason behind his tragic story. I stared at the words. A part of me screamed that this was insane. Another part, angry, wounded, whispered yes. The midnight nerves crept in, but so did resolve. I'd blocked Danny, but I couldn't do this alone. As I shut my laptop, that DM still glowed on the screen. A chance to expose Danny's true colors, to finally break free from his shadow. But I had no idea what meeting her would cost me or cost him. Will I walk into that coffee shop tomorrow night and find an ally? Or a deeper trap, I stepped into that little coffee shop on Congress Avenue just as the neon sign blinked open. The chime above the door made my heart skip. Every step felt like diving off a cliff. There, tucked into a corner booth, sat Scarlett Dubois. She looked nothing like the tragic figure Danny had described. She was tall, confident, with sharp eyes that seemed to measure every detail. A silver MacBook sat open in front of her, and a single latte steamed at her elbow. I slid into the seat opposite her. My palms were sweaty, my pulse a drumbeat of anticipation and fear. "You made it," she said quietly, closing her laptop. Her voice was steady, warm, no pity, no hesitation, just clarity. I wasn't sure I would, I admitted. The ring box in my pocket felt like a hot coal. I blocked him. I blocked everyone who'd excuse him. But I need to know how to end this. Scarlett nodded and took a sip of her latte. First, I want to be clear, this isn't just about the ring. Danny, not your brother. Because the real brother would never do this. He's been poisoning your life for years. That ring. It was payback for every success you had. Her words hit me like a freight train. I remembered every time I cheered Danny on for his half-hearted job attempts, for that community college course he dropped out of, for the time he cried in his car after I scraped together rent money when he was broke again. I felt that old guilt rise in my chest. Scarlett leaned forward. No more guilt. This is about reclaiming your life, and I'm going to help you do it. 1. Mapping out the battlefield. She pulled a thin notebook from her bag and slid it across the table. Inside, scribbles of dates, names, and bullet points. Engagement party toast. Danny's first public shot use video clip to highlight his passive aggression. Missing prototype sabotage document email trail. Get IT logs from your company's server. Stolen hoodie incident. Collect photo evidence of Danny wearing your clothes. Ring thefts 2x police report drafts. Time-stamped photos of the ring's last known location. Lisa's defense's text logs. Voicemails everything she said to excuse him. Each bullet felt like another brick I could use to build my case. I ran my finger down the list. You've done your homework. I had to, she said. You've been living with half-truths. Time to lay out the whole story. 2. Gathering evidence. Over the next few days, Scarlett became my strategic partner. We met at libraries, coffee shops, anywhere we could spread out documents. She taught me how to request IT logs without tipping my boss off, how to screenshot texts with timestamps that couldn't be faked, and where to find legal templates for cease and desist letters. We uncovered emails Danny had sent to Scarlett harassing, pleading, threatening when she refused to take him back. We printed out every word. There was one where he wrote, "If you don't respond, you'll regret it. That was key. It became our mini-climax evidence of calculated manipulation, not just heartbreak. We also tracked down the original ring box photo, me holding it under the living room lights, and overlaid a screenshot of Danny's Instagram story showing the ring box collage months later. Missing the ring. The overlap was damning. It proved he had bootlegged my future for his petty game. 3. The anniversary as the final showdown. Scarlett's notebook flagged one date in bold red, my parents' 35th wedding anniversary. 3 weeks away. A backyard tent, live jazz trio, 50 or 55 relatives, and a perfect stage to unveil Danny's true colors. The symbol of that day would be the family hearth, a grand cake-cutting ceremony where my parents would recite vows again. We'd hijack that moment. How I asked. Simple, she said. We plant evidence where everyone can see it. She outlined the plan. Step 1, send Danny an email, disguised as a casual family update, including leaked photos of the ring box collage and messages from Scarlett. We'd CC Mom and Dad's anniversary invitation list. He'd panic loyalty to his own fictional narrative crumbling. Step 2, at the party. Dad calls for a toast. As he raises his glass, one of the photos appears on the big screen. They hired a slideshow operator for family photos. Everyone sees Danny's texts and the ring theft timeline before he can deny it. Step 3. Scarlett and I make our entrance, her hand on my back, confident, as if we were celebrating our own engagement. The juxtaposition of me with my real partner, safe and stable, against Danny's desperate performance would drive the point home. Step 4. Mom and Dad realize they've been buying into Danny's victim act for decades. Their shock would flip the family dynamic. I refuse a toast from Dad until he acknowledges the truth. It was brilliant risky, but brilliant. 4. The high-stakes test. The proof of concept, that email. Scarlett drafted it. Subject: family celebration, and a few memories. To family@connors.com. Danny, combs@gmail.com. Hi everyone. As we gear up for Mom and Dad's big anniversary, I stumbled upon some old family photos and a few messages that might explain some missing memories. I thought you all should see them before the party. Especially you, Danny. Attach ringbox collage. Attach Danny's emails to Scarlett. Looking forward to celebrating together honestly and openly. Love, Scarlett. She hit send. My stomach churned. Seconds later, I got a notification email delivered. Then, Danny, combs@gmail.com, family celebration and a few memories. I opened it with trembling fingers. Danny, what the hell? Scarlett, who gave you the right to drag me into this, you crazy? He'd bitten. He was panicking just as we'd hoped. 5. The twist. A family divided. Mom called immediately. Her voice trembled. Kai, what's going on? Is this really true? I steadied myself. Mom, I'm sorry you had to learn it this way, but it's time we face the truth. Dad's text followed, I thought you loved your brother. You can't prosecute family. The betrayal stung deeper than anything Danny had done. My own parents, finally forced to choose. I realized that even as we exposed Danny, we'd be tearing the family apart, but sometimes justice demands sacrifices. 6. Preparing for the final move. The anniversary tent was booked. The slideshow operator briefed. Scarlett and I rehearsed our entrance dozens of times, down to the angle where we'd stand, so the ring collage flashed on screen behind us as Dad raised his champagne flute. I found myself at home after our last run-through, holding the ring box. It lay empty, velvet scuffed. I whispered to it, soon, I'll make this right. My thumb brushed the indent where the diamond once sat. It was a hollow reminder of everything at stake. 3 nights before the party, I got a text from Danny. Just 3 words. We need to talk. It wasn't a plea or an apology. It was a threat. And then, another notification, Dad's phone number calling. My heart seized. With the anniversary less than 72 hours away, the game wasn't just about exposing Danny anymore. It was about whether my own parents would stand by me, or by the brother they'd defended for decades. Will they toast my truth, or will their loyalty to Danny drown out the justice we've planned, the night of my parents' 35th anniversary? The backyard tent looked straight out of a magazine, white linen drapes, lanterns hung in crisscross patterns, and long tables dressed in soft blush linens. A jazz trio played softly near the head table, and candles flickered in mason jars. I stood just inside the tent flap with Scarlett at my side, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Tonight, Danny would watch his greatest lie crumble in front of everyone who ever enabled him. 1. The opening move. As guests milled around, greeting each other with hugs and champagne flutes, my father raised his voice for attention. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate 35 years of marriage," he said, clear but shaky. He didn't know what was coming. I nodded at Scarlett, and she hit play on the slideshow projector. Instantly, the big screen behind the head table showed our family photos, Dad and Mom on their wedding day, me in kindergarten, Danny on his little league team. Then, as the photos began to fade, bullet points appeared. Danny's forgotten apology tour. Engagement ring stolen twice. Company prototype sabotage. Hoodie he borrowed for weeks. Harassing emails to Scarlett. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Mothers clutched their pearls. Uncles exchanged incredulous looks. Dad's hand trembled around his champagne glass. Danny's jaw snapped shut. The mini climax. I watched him shift in his seat, nervous energy radiating off him like heat. My mom's eyes brimmed with tears as she mouthed, "What is this?" Scarlett advanced the slides, a screenshot of my ring box collage, side by side with Danny's Instagram story showing that same box, minus the ring. Then came the screenshot of his midnight text to Scarlett. "If you don't respond, you'll regret it." Whispers turned to murmurs. Aunt Carol gasped. Cousin Brian covered his mouth. I felt a quiet satisfaction. This was more than I imagined. But then, Danny leapt up, knocking his chair over. "This is bullshit," he shouted. "You're lying." His voice cracked, raw with panic. He paced toward the projector, hand outstretched as if he could claw the images off the screen. 3. High-risk action. I followed him, voice calm but firm. "Dad, Mom, look at the timestamps." I pointed to the next slide, an email thread where Scarlett had sent Danny the ring box photos before our engagement party. This was sent last month, not some old story. His face flushed crimson. He spun on his heel and stormed toward the buffet table. People backed away, plates clattered. I took a breath. This was the moment the game changed from psychological warfare to full-on confrontation. 4. The twist logic. Just when I thought he'd crumble, Danny grabbed the mic from the head table. "You think you're so clever, Kai." His voice boomed across the tent. "You manipulated everyone with your tech bro speech, and your fancy house, and your perfect fiancée. But we all know you were too busy chasing success to even notice what your brother needed." His words struck like a spear to the family's sense of fairness, to the American dream that had been my lifeblood. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. I could see them questioning whether I had been the one manipulating them. My mom gasped, her protective instincts kicking in. 5. Symbolic rebuttal. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the empty ring box, my symbol of broken promises. Its velvet edges were worn. "This," I said, voice rising, "was supposed to be my future, but you stole it twice." I held it aloft. "That's not just a ring. It's my life. And you're not the victim here. You're the predator." The box's empty interior glinted under the lantern light, like a hollow indictment of Danny's lies. He staggered back, expression faltering. 6. Emotional crescendo. A hush fell. Then, softly, Dad stood. I expected him to defend Danny, he always did. But instead, he looked me in the eye. "Kai, I'm sorry. I didn't see what was happening." His voice cracked. Mom joined him, placing a hand on his arm. "We loved him too much to see his darkness," she whispered. Tears glistened on their cheeks. Danny's bravado evaporated, replaced by shame. He dropped the mic, which clanged against the table. Guests murmured words of support for me, friends I'd worked with at the tech firm, neighbors who'd always assumed Danny was the one with problems. Now, they saw the truth. 7. The third character's triumph. Scarlett stepped forward then, her presence commanding attention. If anyone deserves blame, it's not Kai, it's you. Danny. She held out printed copies of Danny's emails, harassing, manipulative, passing them through the front row. I gave you chance after chance. You threatened me when I refused. This ends now. Her authority was magnetic. The relatives who'd defended Danny the whole time shifted uncomfortably, reading the emails. The ring box, once a hollow symbol, now represented my resilience and her courage to stand by me. 8. Cliffhanger setup. As the tent buzzed with whispered apologies and relieved gratitude, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. But before the celebration could resume, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Danny's friend, Martin. Kai? Check your door. My heart lurched. I excused myself and dashed out into the cool Texas night, Scarlett following close behind. My front porch light glowed against the dark. At the foot of the steps lay a single white envelope, my name scrawled in a shaky hand. I picked it up, hands trembling. Inside, a single sheet of paper. You broke the family tonight, but remember, you still owe me, D. The crisp paper felt like a warning. Justice had been served in public, but the private war was far from over. Will Danny strike back harder and more dangerously after tonight's humiliation? Or is this his final card? I pocketed Danny's chilling note, its paper crisp, the words burning a promise of unfinished business, and stepped back into the tent's warm glow. Inside, the air hummed with relieved chatter. Plates of past hors d'oeuvres clinked, and the jazz trio shifted into At Last. That sweet, hopeful standard. Scarlett slipped her arm through mine. We did it, she whispered, and for the first time in weeks, I believed her. But victories have aftershocks. 1. The calm. After the storm. Outside the tent, the cool Texas night kissed my skin. My parents found me by the cake table. Dad's eyes were glassy. Son, I'm so proud of you, he said, voice thick. He enveloped me in a hug I'd been craving for years, but hardly dared imagine. Mom brushed crumbs off my shoulder, tears slipping down her cheeks. You showed us what courage looks like, she said. I felt her hand trembling in mine. They had believed Danny for so long. Now, they'd seen the truth. Inside, guests stood in small circles, murmuring about the reveal. My boss, Karen, approached dressed impeccable, but concern etched on her face. Kai, can I talk to you? She asked quietly, nervous. I followed her to the canopy's edge. I watched everything, she said, eyes soft. Your integrity, your commitment to the truth, that's leadership. I'd like to fast-track your promotion to senior director. You've earned it. My heart hammered at the unexpected good news. In that moment, I felt the weight of lost opportunities lift. All the late nights, the sabotaged presentation, it had led me here, to a chance for real advancement. 2. Danny's downfall back inside. I spotted Danny near the dessert table, eyes hollow, shoulders slumped, a half-eaten slice of cake in his hand. He looked like a ghost. I realized the real victory wasn't just exposing him publicly. It was watching the scales fall from everyone's eyes as they recognized how hollow his victim act had been. Aunt Carol approached him. Danny, I'm sorry it took this long. I should have listened. She laid a tentative hand on his arm. He shrugged it off, face hardening. He met my gaze, and, for a second, I saw the old brother I once fought with in the backyard. Then that smile returned, cold and dangerous. Scarlett squeezed my hand. He's not done, she warned. I nodded. We both knew Danny wouldn't go quietly. 3. Rebuilding home. The next morning, I pushed open my front door. The house felt different, lighter. As if the walls themselves exhaled, Scarlett followed, carrying her latte. We spent the afternoon repairing the tent damage, a few bent hooks, a stray candle that singed a drape. Each small repair felt symbolic, as though we were mending more than just fabric. I found my old ring box on the entry table, abandoned in the rush. The velvet was scuffed, but the hinge still clicked solidly. I held it gently, no longer as a symbol of betrayal, but as a reminder of how far I'd come. Scarlett set her latte down and rested her hand on my shoulder. "Let's build something new," she said. We spent the next hour unpacking boxes, hanging art, placing photos of the anniversary slideshow cropped to exclude Danny. It was our first real moment of calm. 4. Social fallout. By midday, my phone lit up with notifications texts from coworkers praising my grace under pressure, an email from the neighborhood watch inviting me to join their board. Apparently, they'd noticed how I protected local kids' safety during the party. And a DM from Martin, Danny's old friend.
"He's furious. He's talking about legal action. They're calling it defamation. Just a heads up."
My stomach lurched. I replied, "Let him try," then texted Scarlett, "Looks like round 2. I knew Danny would lash out, he always did, but now I had evidence, witnesses, and a community behind me. 5. Emotional recovery and social commentary. That evening, I took a long walk through the neighborhood past neat lawns, kids on bicycles, elderly couples on porch swings. It was the image of the American dream I'd always chased, and now I realized the dream isn't just about owning a home or climbing the corporate ladder. It's about honesty, respect, and the freedom to stand up for yourself. I paused by a white picket fence and watched a pair of grandparents tending their garden. They waved at me, and I waved back, feeling a sense of belonging I hadn't felt in years. The world wasn't perfect. I just tasted how ugly it could be when betrayal creeps in. But there was beauty in community, in standing up for truth. 6. A brother's last move inside the house. Scarlett and I reviewed legal templates. She'd found a cease and desist addressed to Danny, plus a draft restraining order application. We made plans to file in the morning. That's when the knock came at my door, sharp, insistent. I froze. My pulse spiked. Scarlett stayed quiet behind me. Through the peephole, I saw Lisa, pale, wide-eyed, clutching a manila envelope. My throat went dry. 7. Cliffhanger. I opened the door. Lisa stood there, tears streaming, her hand trembling as she held out the envelope. "Kai, please, I need you to see this." My breath caught. In my mind raced the possibilities. Was she angry? Apologetic, seeking forgiveness? I glanced at the envelope, my name scrawled across it. Inside lay a single sheet of paper with lab results, a paternity test. I stared at her, heart in my throat. The future I thought I'd rewritten. Was it about to rewrite itself? Will this new revelation shatter my newfound peace? And who really deserves the truth? Now? Lisa's hands shook as she held out that manila envelope. My name scrawled across the front in her familiar handwriting. The backyard tent's lantern light flickered, casting shadows that danced across her tear-streaked face. I felt the world tilt beneath me. Scarlett stood behind, silent support. I took a slow breath and opened the envelope. Inside, a single sheet of paper bore the words that could reshape everything. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. My vision tunneled. The hollow ring box in my jacket pocket suddenly burned like a brand. That box, once a symbol of my broken dream, now felt small against the weight of a new responsibility. My hands trembled as I refolded the test. "Lisa," I managed, voice rough. My chest tightened, equal parts betrayal, anger, and something deeper, dread. She swallowed hard. I know how horrible this looks, but I took the test because I needed certainty. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." Her apology hung in the air like an unwelcome chord. The injustice stung. She had lied, cheated, and then confronted me with a life-changing claim right after I'd publicly eviscerated my brother. Yet, there was truth in her words, and I couldn't ignore it. I closed my eyes, picturing the empty ring box again, once a vessel of promise, now a reminder of broken trust. 3 times that box had found its way back to me in my apartment, at the anniversary tent, now in my pocket. It was a symbol of everything stolen and everything I still had to fight for. Scarlett placed a quiet hand on my shoulder. Her presence grounded me. I turned to her, searching for the steady gaze that had guided me through the revenge. But this was different territory. "Scarlett," I whispered, "what do I do?" She exchanged a look with Lisa, compassion tinted with pragmatism. "You have every right to be furious, but you also have a child on the way," she said gently. "Being a father doesn't erase what she did, but it gives you a choice to protect an innocent life." My mind raced. The ring box felt impossibly heavy. My heart pounded like the finale of a heavy storm. Outside the tent, music still played, but in that moment, the world fell silent. I stepped away to the edge of the lawn, the test paper clutched in my fist, the summer grass brushed my shoes, and the distant party lights glowed like pinpricks of joy I couldn't reach. I inhaled deeply, grounding myself in the cool night air. In America, we value 2 things above nearly all else: the sanctity of family and the freedom to choose our own path. I'd fought to reclaim my life from Danny's manipulations. Now I faced the ultimate test. Could I forgive Lisa enough to honor my duty as a father? I folded the test and dropped it onto a flat rock. The paper fluttered, but stayed put, a tangible weight of consequence. I raised my gaze to the tense glow, the sight of my triumph over Danny, and realized the fight wasn't over. It had evolved. My parents found me there. Dad rested a hand on my shoulder, his eyes brimming. "Son, whatever you decide, we're here for you." Mom's hand joined his. "Family is more than vows or mistakes," she added. "It's about standing together." Their words washed over me like warm water. The betrayal cut deep, but so did their support. I realized that justice and compassion could coexist. I walked back to Lisa, who stood with Scarlett just inside the tent. Guests had gathered in small groups, whispers rippling through them, the spilled secrets, the promise of a new life. I folded my arms, trying to feel something: anger, relief, acceptance. Instead, I felt a slow resolve. "Lisa," I said softly, "I will be a father to this child." My voice cracked, but I stood firm. "That doesn't mean I forgive you yet, but I won't abandon an innocent life because of your mistakes." Her tears fell freely. She nodded. Relief and regret mingled in her eyes. She reached for my hand. I hesitated, then squeezed back. It was a small gesture, a truce, not a reconciliation. Scarlett stepped beside me. "That's brave," she said, "and fair." Standing there, I understood the real meaning of justice. It isn't about revenge alone, nor is it blind mercy. It's about recognizing wrongdoing, holding people accountable, and still protecting those who bear no guilt. The empty ring box I'd once used as a weapon now lay forgotten in my pocket, replaced by a new symbol, the house key I handed to my parents, entrusting them with caring for my home while I adjusted to fatherhood. The American dream isn't just success and stability. It's the chance to rise from betrayal, to rebuild, and to extend humanity even when it's hardest. We may stumble, we may harm those we love, but we can choose to make amends, to protect the next generation from the mistakes of the past. That night, as I watched my parents lead a family prayer under the twinkling lights, and guests toasted to new beginnings, I knew our lives would never be the same. Danny's seat remained empty. Lisa and I stood at a crossroads. Scarlett's partnership reminded me that true allies appear when you need them most. So here's where I leave you. Have you ever faced a betrayal that threatened everything you believed in? Could you find the strength to both seek justice and offer compassion to an innocent? Let me know in the comments below. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life drama, And ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next, because life rarely wraps up neatly. And sometimes, the greatest battles are fought within. Thanks for watching. And remember, in the end, it's not just about winning your fight, it's about how you emerge on the other side.